So, one of the biggest changes in the marketing environment that I thought have, come out in the last year and a half probably was the association of marketing in the corporate social responsibility space with, the government of India mandating 2% CSR for companies in India. Which is a very unique initiative by the Indian government. I think a lot of companies have taken that as an opportunity to while you're doing good, you sort of also make some space for your brand. And I have seen a lot of marketers jump at the opportunity to sort of actually solve a lot of business problems. And I think that is working for some brands. It's working really well. Some brands have done, used corporate social responsibility extremely well for, which is working very well for their brand. So that's one big trend that I see. And I think, I personally think this corporate social responsibility mandate by the government is here to stay for a while. So I think more and more marketers should look at that space, if not already, because it is a great opportunity. The other trend that I see is, I personally think that CIO is my new best friend, because a lot of marketers are turning to technology for, running their campaigns and essentially to be able to generate an ROI figure, which is, again, a new trend that I'm seeing, because traditionally, marketing was probably about advertising, you place an ad in a TV channel or you place an ad in a newspaper or whatever. It was really hard to sort of bring down the marketing ROI in terms of real business. That correlation was very hard to make, but I think with the digital space catching up, I think more and more marketers are actually leveraging the digital space to be able to talk in terms of the real business dollar value of marketing investments. So marketing is not, an expense anymore. It's being looked at as investment. And I think the change is particularly in the B2B space from where I come. B2B space, marketing was always for the lack of a better word, a flamboyant good to have, not really a must to have, which essentially was about, doing an event or having a booth in an exhibition or printing ads or whatever. But it's sort of, it's really moving to more towards the consumer space as well. I think with the whole digital burst globally, the way your customers, so whether, B2B or B2C, I think customers have started looking at brands differently. So, while your CIO, who's your target audience, is also on Facebook and is also interacting with, a Burberry or a whatever, Zara and stuff like that online, they're probably also looking at interacting with, the brands that he's dealing with at work. So because the consumer expectation is also changing, marketers, I think, are starting to respond differently. They're starting to look at digital space a lot more seriously. Marketing, is moving from being a monologue to a dialogue, where content is becoming the king. And I think, a couple of years back, where this content is king, phase started off, where people started shoving content in your face, like left, right, and center. I think things are sort of improving from there as well, where people are starting to realize that it's not just content thrown at your face. It's also, what's more meaningful is what is it that you're saying, and you basically, whatever content you create has to be keeping your consumer in mind, for what's in it for them. So I think the mental shift that's happening is very interesting. I'm really glad that I'm in a space where the things are changing. It's in the transition phase right now. So it was nascent earlier. It's a few years down the line it's going to mature, but right now it's the transition, and transition space is always the most interesting. I think the technology is going to continue to play a really big part in the marketing space. Content is consumers are going to consume more and more content like they are currently. Video is definitely becoming new. Though I personally think video content is probably short-lived. It's probably going to be there in 2016, maybe not beyond. But content in general will continue to rule, the marketing space, and not just B2C, but also B2B, which is going to be a big differentiator from what we did historically and where we're going from now. And technology, right from search engine optimization, which is becoming more and more sophisticated, where marketers sitting from India are targeting, global markets. And I think there's a lot of digital work that's happening to be able to tap markets outside, especially for startups that are in India that are looking at going global. I think digital is going to play a really big part. The other thing that I do see will continue to happen is that, excuse me, marketing will continue to sort of, or in fact will do, get involved with internal communications a lot more. I think historically internal communications hasn't really been a very important space. In fact, it has predominantly been driven by HR, whereas I see more and more, and I see that a lot in a lot of companies and in a lot of bigger brands, where marketing is continuously getting involved more and more in the HR space. So whether it's employer branding or whether it's internal communication or at all, marketing I think will continue to be engaged in the HR space more and more in the coming future.